All right, guys, let's talk about Thrill the Grill. Jordan, how are you going to explain what the heck Thrill the Grill is and why this is a NARPM event? Not an official event, but why is this such a legend in NARPM?
Yeah, well, as I recall, Jeremy, I remember being with you in Nashville of all places, and we were filming some content. We had a film crew already dialed in, having a blast with the RentScale crew, putting some great videos, just memorializing them. And one of the thoughts at the time was, hey, if what else could we create? What else should we record? And in that moment, I think the idea was born right there that we should throw a killer barbecue and grilling championship at NARPM National. And we just did it. We just went for it.
I
We
remember that. I
recorded.
think you said, well, let's just film the content. And if we don't put, because we were months out, right? When we were still like three,
Yeah.
4 months away. And you were
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
well, if we don't do it, we don't release the video. And I was like, and you were all about it. You were just like, we got to do this. This is going to be amazing. Later, I realized why you were so excited about it. But I remember you hijacking the team and the film crew's time to get this video created, which ended up being a big hit.
And what's the worst that could happen? That's a great attitude. It's like, yeah, if we don't use it, we don't use it, but might as well. And some magic did end up happening. It was the first of several videos that we created.
And later you told me, I will say that, and I didn't know this because this was my first, I think this was my first national conference after we started RentScale. It was. And you were explaining to me, we're competing with some big parties. You can't just throw, a half-ass party at nationals because people are showing up with budgets. Then you were like, and we don't have that firepower. And I remember you saying to me, like, but if we make it fun and we invite all our friends, like people will show up. And you were right. And I remember that was like part of the strategic impetus for like why you wanted to do this Thrill the Grill.
Hell yeah. Being scrappy. That's definitely part of my DNA.
Yes.
And I think we pretty much proved that that was true. If you put enough vibe, enough charisma, ethos behind something, I mean, that's really what a party is. A party is not about expensive decorations or even expensive food. It's really just about the vibe of the people. And that was what was in our mind's eye from day one. That's why it's a barbecue. That's why it's informal. That's why there's a competitive element to it. And it's something that people have really enjoyed.
And you had a plan for who we were going to invite. So who did we invite, and what was the thought process there about vendors grilling versus people showing up? How did that all come to be?
Well, what I recall is that the thought was that the vendors would feel the competitive element because vendors are already kind of used to competing in that arena, right? You're at the trade show, you got a booth, you're trying to stand out, you're trying to get people to spare a couple of precious brain cells to remember your name and what you do. And this is just one more extension of that. And I felt the competitive elements. In fact, that it was one of the distinct elements of arranging this thing was losing repeatedly in the grilling competitive element, which probably feels more authentic than setting up a competition and lo and behold the guy that set it up keeps winning year after year. But I wasn't planning on losing repeatedly year after year, and that's just been kind of a fun treat because there is a competitive element.
Yes, the little peek behind the curtain that I remember is we were bringing the whole team out from RentScale anyway, and we needed a place to stay. So we just got a really big Airbnb with a backyard. So we were shopping for an Airbnb that we could both stay at and have our party at. Right now, it's like the scrappy. That's how scrappy it was. Like doing everything
Rare
all in
combo.
one location.
Especially these days. I feel like that's not happening anymore. People are not looking for you to rent out your party and like, by the way, we're gonna have 200 people over. Is that cool? Like,
that's right. So usually the first thing on your Airbnb listing is like no parties, right? Remember, wasn't our guy's name Ralph? He came to the
Ralph.
He was so excited. Yes. We called him up. We told him what we were going to do. He's like, no problem. And then he checked us all in, I think, to make sure we were like not crazy. And then we told him who we were bringing, and then we were like, "Do you want to come?" And he's like, "Of course, I'll come to the party." Our Airbnb host came to the party, right?
That was absolutely legendary to have Ralph, the host, want to show up and be invested in it and get excited just because he was going to be there. I felt like he was kind of vicariously enjoying the whole experience, which was also really cool.
Yes, agreed. All right, so we have all the vendors. We had rules, right? So it was the same grill. We were trying to control for variables. Same grill, same piece of meat. same amount of time, right? You could spice it any way you wanted, but we all basically got to grill a type of steak. I think it was a ribeye or a sirloin.
New York strip.
The New York strip. Good. Your memory is better than mine. Your meat recall is uncanny, Jordan. And then we basically had to grill it. It all had to come off at the same time. So there's actually a lot more here than I think we ever anticipated when we spun up this idea. And then we had hundreds of national attendees coming over, drinking cocktails, being entertained while we grilled and basically talked trash to each other. And then we all put out the pieces of meat and they would eat it. And then if I remember, we had a special guest who helped us judge, right? Do you remember how the judging process worked with Danny?
Man, yeah, that's right. Yep. We had Danny repping the numbers, tallying the votes. That was a treat. I remember.
I just want to say that so the writers get that.
Yes, Danny from Profit Coach. I recall a little bit of chaos grilling. That's what I recall. There was so much going on. As the coordinators, there was a lot going on. But when you're cooking a steak, all you really should be doing is cooking a steak.
It can go bad real fast.
So the tension of that, I mean, really, what is it? Like a 30-second window between a great steak and something that's like obviously overcooked, probably contributed to how things went. But yeah, it was great vibe, great energy. And there was also marketing day of. We created a follow-up video the day before that actually created a lot of hype. And that was also on the fly. That's a real highlight memory, seeing that go from like, it's too late, this would be shotgun, this is impractical, to just like, let's just do it. Just do it right now. Let's do it. And we did it. And like 90 minutes later, we had a really great video that drew a lot of attention.
Yeah, we're going to link to that because that's amazing. That's maybe one of my crowning achievements at RentScale. That video, that thing was unbelievably good. We got a lot of viral attention out of that. The trash talking leading up to it was a lot of fun. I mean, I think what's fun is the vendor relationships are so tight in this industry that like the artificial trash talking, that was going on amongst everybody and the names of the labels we were giving each other, like really created a lot of camaraderie. And that's one of my favorite parts is the buildup even before the event. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. And that's why one of the prerequisites is having people that actually are into grilling, Yeah. If you're vegan, competing in a grilling competition probably is not going to be the best experience for anybody involved. And I felt like we did have some folks that were fairly serious about their grilling. They got there in different ways. I remember Blaze being involved one year and being all in.
Both years.
Both years, yes.
At two different vendors, by the way. Blaze was involved.
Yes, that's true. That's true. He's moved around. Ray and the Property Meld crew repping with all the sous vide stuff, which is kind of controversial. I feel like we need to canonically address that in the rules. Is that inside or outside the bounds of fair play, Jeremy?
Well, that's one of my favorite things about this that kind of came very organically, that has become like a hidden tradition, is that we have all these rules and we talk about the rules leading up, and everyone's got to have the same meat, the same grill, we all have to show up at the same time, and that you can't mess with other vendors' products or meat. And every year we break all those rules. I remember I got there and Ray had brought in his own meat from his family ranch, by the way, which is a way better cut than the Costco meat the rest of us are grilling. Let's just be honest, right? If we're dealing with a $30 steak, he's got a $100 steak and he's competing. So when I got to the last event, I found it, I put it in the freezer. I didn't want to feel the cooking.
Wow. I didn't even know that little tidbit.
Yes.
That's rich. That feels,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, who can compete with that? Bringing your own steak he probably knew the animal, that's a level of, that's a level of proximity that's just hard to recreate.
Well, that's why he's probably two-time champion of the Golden Spatula. You want to talk about the Golden Spatula and how that came about?
Man, let's do it. The Golden Spatula represents taking home the W, taking home the championship. And it's been in the same home for 2 years running. I'm excited to relieve Ray of the burden to his ego of holding on to that, and to see somebody else take that home. I'd love to see my crew take it home. RentScale crew, I know can throw down. So it's going to be a bona fide competition.
We've been close at RentScale the last 2 years, but Ray just keeps running away with it. Now, if anyone visits Ray, I know a lot of clients and vendors go visit him. I've heard that there's a secret bookcase in the basement. You have to pull the Hemingway book back, and the golden spatula is behind that. He brings it back every year. There's one. It's like the Stanley Cup. There's one golden spatula, and you are entrusted with it, and you have to bring it back the following year. And you get to show up to the whole conference with it around your neck, like Ray did, wearing it, letting everybody know you were the golden spatula winner. Which is amazing. So we did the first year. There was a little drama. I want to just talk about that. There was some behind the scenes drama the first year, right? So we were the first event. Everyone starts showing up. We're planning everything. We've been in the house. We've got drinks. We're making cocktails. And I remember going to Jordan. I said, Jordan, I don't think we have enough bourbon. Meanwhile, we've had the next morning we woke up with like
way too much bourbon.
We're never drink, right? So, like way more drinks than ever. But like my college days came back too. I don't want people leaving because we run out of food and drink. And so I convinced Jordan to take our rental van to the store to buy more bourbon. And what proceeded to happen, Jordan, as onslaught of people are arriving at the party.
Right, exactly. People are coming in. I head out one last quick little errand, zipping over to Costco, and somebody just wholesale turns their car right into the van. Cops are called on scene. I have the unpleasant task of calling Jeremy and saying like, hey, I know people are coming. I just got a car accident. I need you to come get me. Yep. Not convenient and not good timing. And so we left everybody else there to kind of run and manage things. That was fun. That was a fun treat, leaving the rest of the team.
We are the organizers, and we left everyone else to be like, hey, I know we have all the plans in the itinerary. I'll be right back. Jordan just got in a car accident as waves of people are being dropped off and walking into the party.
We recovered, got back there, and had a blast. In the end, it did not derail things. The thing I was thinking of why we were getting that bourbon was for one of the signature drinks that we've kind of carried on. It's fun. What can you tell us about that signature drink, Jeremy?
Well, RentScale has a signature cocktail. It's called the Crisp Dollar Bill. We actually just used it at a NARPM Southern States event. So anytime we can sponsor something, it's an amazing cocktail that came from one of our team members out of one of our first on-sites and has kind of lived on. I know a lot of people in the industry are fans of it. And maybe we should bring that back as we go into the future ones. If other companies want it all kind of, maybe we could also have the thrill of the grill, and then people can be entering their little cocktails if they so choose as a little bit of a side competition there.
I like it.
That.
I like it. Yeah. And that's actually a little more accessible in some ways. The meat thing, one of the dynamics of the meat is that from year one to year two, we realized that we needed to have a more formalized judging panel, judging everything, and we got a little more self-aware about the complexity of preparing and serving meat kind of ad hoc promptu to several hundred people. So where things sit now is that we're probably most likely going to have the judges, the judges obviously will still be tasting the meat, but we're most likely not going to be serving meat to several hundred people. But drinks we could do, baby. That's a great idea.
And by the way, that's worth denoting for the article is much like human society, Thrill the Grill has evolved from year one was a popular vote. Now we have gone to a representative system, right? Where we have judges that are picking. So year one, people each had one vote for the best steak, and we had hundreds of people. And that's where Danny from Profit Coach came in, was counting it up. Then, as you said, that was chaos. We should never do that again, like all entrepreneurial startups. And so year two, how did that work? And Brent, if you want to jump in here, because I know you're a big part of that. How did we judge year two, and how is that much more entertaining?
We asked a handful of folks to join us as judges. We selected, I believe, do you guys remember, was it 5, 6?
5 sounds right.
5 judges. We had them sit around a table, drop the steak. Each plate, right, had a Post-it underneath it, I think is what we did. We had each plate with Post-it underneath it. So
and I remember all the attendees got to taste, right? So everyone still got to taste all the steak, but then the judges picked them. I remember, it's been a while.
Well, there was multiple rounds.
Yeah. So
we gave one of the judges.
Only the judges ate and tried the steaks. It
Are you
wasn't,
sure? I felt like we were giving out a bunch
we
of
had a,
steaks to everybody else too. Is that not right?
we
Didn't-
had a caterer.
That's right. We had a
We
caterer.
had a
So
caterer.
only the
Mhm.
judges. Okay. So that
We
anyway.
had a caterer in a bar. Yeah, we had a caterer in a bar. So only the judges. And it was also, right? It's like, ooh, like COVID was still kind of talked about. It was like, do we feed all these people
That's
steaks
right.
after
Coming off COVID. Yes.
Exactly. So we kept it nice and simple for us, I guess, maybe you could say. Just the judges with those plates. Each steak was on its own plate with posted underneath of the chef that prepared it.
Yes.
And then, yeah, there were multiple rounds, right? We had all of them sitting at that table in the middle of the room, and we had like a 360 watch party basically, where they were, all the attendees were able to watch, listen in, and
And then
we thought it was going to be like one round,
one
and
round.
it took
Yeah.
forever.
Do you
How many
remember?
rounds?
Do you remember what went wrong? What went wrong per se? There was something
There was
like
no
there was
consensus. Everybody picked one steak. There was 5 judges and 5 competitors. Everybody got one vote. That's why we had multiple rounds. They couldn't agree on who the best steak was, which we didn't
That's
think
right.
about. You never thought that would happen.
That's
It
right.
was not clear. Yeah, the front runner was not clear after
That was
the
a little
first
stressful.
2 rounds. So we started eliminating. That's what we started doing. We ended up taking
Yes,
out,
yes,
removing
yes.
steaks that didn't get votes, and that's how we narrowed down.
And I will brag that it came in the RentScale and the imported out of bounds meat that was not sanctioned.
The illegal meat.
The illegal meat. Thank you.
Illegal.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little stressful when the voting went on, but we did manage to get consensus. And the judges were great sports. Some of them were dressed up. We had Phil Owen, we had Tato, we had
I know, literally came in
Scott
a
Abernathy, Jennifer
colonial
Stoops.
judge outfit, right, with a wig and everything. I mean,
Yes.
he's dressed up. It's like Todd was in a colonial judge outfit. What was Phil? What did he? Did he just have the regular robe? Is that what he came in?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
They took the judging very seriously. And as much as you say it was chaos, Jordan, being in the crowd, watching the judging, people were dying.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh
they were
yeah.
so
Yeah.
much fun. Yeah.
If there's no pressure or responsibility, I would have enjoyed seeing somebody else sweat under the chaos.
Yeah. But they were like, everybody was improvising and it was a blast. And so I think, is the plan to carry that forward? Is that the new judging format? Or are we going to have some unreleased modifications for competitive purposes the next year?
I think the format will largely be the same, of having a set of honored judges that are committed carnivores that are ready to rep their best and really throw down. Now, the number of teams, that's up in the air, but I'm excited to see some new entrants, some new competitors come alongside and get serious here with us.
Would you call that some fresh meat?
I dare say, I think I would, Jeremy. I think that's fair. I'm thinking about on the Lead Simple team, who might be stepping up to the plate. Jeremy, what are you thinking? Do you already know? Is that obvious to you who on the RentScale team you think can really go all in?
I think I might be grilling this year. I know I took last year off last time, but I may actually throw down. But we have some other qualified grillers on our team. But I think I'm gonna get back involved, get my hands dirty.
Leading from the front.
Leading from the front.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's not obvious to me yet. Need to have some conversations. Bren, anybody comes to mind you'd nominate from the Lead Simple team?
I feel like it should be obvious, and it's not. That's concerning.
We need you just like
not me.
You guys should set up a Slack channel, just like grilling recipes, and just quietly sit back and see who participates.
Jeremy, I'll want to confess something to you. My reputation was sullied at a leadership on site where we grilled, and somehow things got out of control. I was working the grill, and I think the cuts of meat were too fatty, but at some point the grill got so big, so much fire that I was barely able to approach it to flip the stakes. And someone snapped a picture of me like reaching, recoiling from a flame. It feels like the sort of thing that's like borderline disqualifying. We'll work through that internally, but it's a decent chance it's other
We
people on the
keep
team
that we keep that photo
circulating.
rolling.
I wish we made that. I wish we had that as a GIF, because that would be the most popular GIF in like our Slack channel. If we somehow had that going. Bye, Bryn.
All right, gang.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
That was great. Well, it's either you're either disqualified or it's a redemption story in the making. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But the bottom line is we're looking to recruit some other teams that are serious about taking home the gold, and that competitive element kind of fuels part of the vibe. And the rest of the vibe is just fun, grilling, laid back, having a good time, and kind of acknowledging the reality of why a lot of people are going to National. Yeah, you're there to learn. Yeah, you're there to get educated, but you're also there for the vibe, the connection, and to have the informal conversations, which is where the magic is. So that's why it's the format that we chose as opposed to a million other things.
Yeah, it's very casual. It's kind of dinner with a show. It's just very hanging out with your friends, but then there's this, show that culminates, which I think is what makes it really fun. And then of course the stories leading up to it and the stories afterwards and the bragging rights and the trash talk leading up to it. Like it really has created a full calendar. That's what I think is so fun about it. Like all the talk up to it, the anticipation, then all the stories and the camaraderie and the traditions that we talk about after. I'd say that one thing that I think is really cool about this is it is like a proverbial startup story. It was like the RentScale team in a house pulling this off, and it went really well. And then other people wanted to get involved. And today, like going into Nationals and the last one, it's really like it's a consortium of vendors who all believe in this. And it's now, everyone's volunteering somebody, and it's like lighter lifting makes what is it? More hand what is it? There's a saying.
Many hands make
Many hands makes lighter lifting, right? So now it's just really cool that we've got multiple vendors in it. Nobody really owns it. It's almost like this this like institution, right? That just belongs to the vendors, that they get together, and whoever wants to jump in and say, we're going to make this thing happen. It's just really cool to see how it's evolved over several years.
It is. And it's also been cool to see how that week has evolved, that week that is significant for our industry and has become an opportunity for vendors to give back, to create community, to do something more than having a booth and pitching people by creating community and culture. And this is one of many things that will happen that week, but it's something that we feel great about, and that, it feels good to create something to serve the industry, even in just a fun, lighthearted way.
Great. Anything else you want to add, or anything you're excited about with the next one?
What I would add in summary is that I'm excited to see the industry evolve. This has been a fun thing to do for everybody that's come, but there's going to be a bunch of new people this year. That's what's fun. Every year, new people get invited and inculcated into it, and that's why it kind of self-perpetuates, and why it's something that I assume and hope will just continue to go on year after year.
Love it. Do you have a favorite tradition or a favorite part of Thrill to Grow?
My favorite part and my favorite tradition is the trash talking leading up to it. Let's be real. That's it. The videos, the photos that come out, that is a real highlight. And there was some stiff competition last year. I did not anticipate how competitive even the trash talking would get. I want to shout out the Property Melt crew for the video that they released. That was like way beyond what my expectations were. It felt kind of like brinksmanship, They escalated the situation, and I'm excited to see more escalation this year.
They threw the gauntlet. Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorite traditions from this, is the almost the silliness that this event just has created. I think that in the beginning, and maybe we were a part of that because we're silly and we just thought this was so fun. And it's just cool to see how that's lived on. I mean, the trash talking is very over the top. It's very macho to like, I think, a healthy, fun way. And just to see everybody kind of like come together. All the vendors are talking, we're collaborating. It's cool to see all the meetings on a vendor schedule leading up to it. Like, hey, how can we help promote it? What are we doing? Who are you inviting? Hey, I already invited that person. It's really cool. It kind of brings us together, the cooperation. And then on the flip side, as you said, the photos, I'm thinking about all the meetings I had in the months after the first two Thrill of the Grills. All your clients, like you can't get any work done because all your clients want to do is reminisce about how much fun they had that night, right? And so like it's this bond and these like stories that we're still telling. Like after that, people just want to be like, oh yeah, remember when this happened? And when we're so dispersed from our clients and we're like all over the country and we only get to see each other a couple times a year. To me, it's like created like several seeds of like bonding that we get to do going forward. And I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well said. This year is going to be awesome. I can feel it.
I'm excited. Should we be, you don't know it because I can get this for the writer. Should we be announcing the date and the location, or are we going to hold that back?
Now that Brina's gone, unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably best to defer.
I'll talk to her about that because I want to figure out if we want that as part of the article, or if we're just going to announce that on our own right, and if the announcement itself should be its own, project.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
All right. Excellent.